Want to win one of 10 iPads or up to $10,000? It's the 25th anniversary of .com, so tell us how .com has changed your life. Write your story at howdoyou.com and you could win.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Labrats. My name is Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers.
And this is a show where we demystify technology. We explain all the complicated terms, netbooks and iPads and computers like that. And today on the show, funny I should say all those things because what are we doing today, Mr. Carruthers?
We're going back to school. And
so
we're going to be talking about what kind of computers you need or computing devices you need to go back to school with.
Yeah, we're cruising, of course, through the summer. You'll see this in August. But, of course, school is just around the corner, and there's lots of options these days. Things have changed in the landscape, right? Once upon a time, it was only a desktop or maybe a laptop.
Yeah, it used to be a desktop and a laptop if you could afford it, and now we've got smaller devices. Laptops are really common. There's even some devices that you wouldn't have necessarily thought about when you were thinking about going back to school and getting a device. So we'll talk about all of these.
So we're going to demystify that for you. So let's take a break, and when we come back,
laptops, notebooks, netbooks, and more on Labrats.
And welcome back to Labrats. So before we get started, of course, I want to talk to you a little bit about a fantastic contest going on, howdoyou.com. The folks over at VeriSign are the keepers of the .com domains, I should say. And it's the 25th.
Many of them. Many of them.
Many of them. They've been around for 25 years. And so they wanted to create a contest to allow you to win up to $10,000, one of 10 iPads. And what they really want you to do is send in a story or a video that shows how .com has changed your life. So, for example, for me, I mean, there's so many things I could talk about, and we have over the course of this campaign. But I think Dell.com comes to mind. Because until I switched over to buying Apple machines, I really bought all my machines at Dell. Dell is my favorite Windows-based computer. So I bought an enormous number of computers over the years online. It made it a great way to sort of customize the computer to exactly what you want. So Dell.com kind of changed my life. It really helped me with my computing world.
Yeah, they were one of the first big manufacturers with a .com domain that actually sold computers direct to the customers. So.
That's right. There you go. So Dell.com. But I'm sure your story is way better than mine. Maybe you bought your dog online. Maybe you shop for your groceries and you make your famous lemon tart online. I don't know, but it's clearly going to be better than my story. So get on over to howdoyou.com, fill out their form, tell them your story, and win up to $10,000 or one of 10 iPads.
By the way, if you bought your dog online, drop us an email at feedback@labrats.tv and let us know how that worked out. All right. So let's get on with the show today, because we've got a lot of territory to cover. Once upon a time, you're going back to school, you talk to your mom and dad, or if you were going to pay for it yourself, you would kind of go to Dell.com or Apple.com and start looking at desktops. A big box to put beside your monitor or underneath the desk. Or something like that.
And today, still obviously an option. Now, some pros and cons around that these days.
Yes.
But let's talk quickly about the pros. So desktops, lots of power.
They have lots of power. They're relatively cheap for what they are. You can get a fairly decent desktop starting at even $200 or $300. I mean, it's not going to have all the bells and whistles, but it's perfectly functional for most of what a student's going to need to do.
Isn't that crazy, really?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, I think when I went to Dell.com, I'd pay up to $3,000 for one of these guys. Now you can get it for $300.
Yeah, if you're looking in the side of this thing, it's got a little bit of technology in here that would make it a little bit more than $200. But yeah, theoretically inexpensive, very expandable too. So if you get something that has a hard drive that you don't like or a video card that you don't like, swap it out later down the road, because they are pretty open architecture for the most part, and they do allow you some flexibility in that regard.
So desktop's still a viable option. Now, of course, not portable.
Not portable. So if you want to take it around campus, you'd need a wheelbarrow to take this and your monitor with you.
Got it. And also, too, I think about desktop space, too. I mean, if you're in a dorm room, not a lot of space there, it's going to go into the desk perhaps, but you still need a desktop monitor. So, maybe not a perfect ideal, but if you have on a budget and you want some power, this is the way to go.
Yeah, and the other thing I like to mention this, especially with people that are living in their dorm room. If you're living in a house and you've got a different room for this, it's something else altogether. But if you do have this and you want to run it all night for a download or something like that, it can be pretty noisy, so it might keep you awake. Right. So maybe this is not the way to go.
Perhaps not. Although, but I should just talk real quick before we move on from this about Apple's desktops, because of course that they don't look like this anymore. I guess the high-end workstations do, but the iMacs, for example, are a built-in screen. Yeah,
the iMacs are a nice, elegant, all-in-one solution. We've got this running our background right here. It's actually capable of much more than running a background on our display. But it is nice and compact. It can run full multimedia on there, and so it doesn't take up a whole lot of space under the desk. It's just all right there.
Very good. Okay.
Not as expandable as one of these big towers, but
change the RAM, change the hard drive, maybe. But
yeah, you can do a bit of expandability.
Okay, good. All right.
So let's get rid of this because this is huge. We don't want one of these in our dorm room.
Now, I think if you're a student, you're going to be looking at probably one form factor specifically. In this whole discussion, this is going to be the place where you're probably going to be focused, and that's the laptop category. Yeah, once upon a time, laptops were more expensive than desktops. There was less of them being sold than desktops today. I think there's actually more laptops being sold than desktops. It is probably the most popular computing category, and so many benefits for students.
Yes, I mean, they're very portable, so you can actually take this with you into the classroom and take your notes on it. It's got great multimedia capabilities, so you don't have to worry about, well, can I watch my DVDs on the whatever device you have. It actually plays it fairly well on this. You can actually get a TV card in a lot of these and actually run your TV off of this as well. It becomes a full multimedia hub. Now, they're mostly as powerful as a desktop. They do most of the things of those things. They're not necessarily great for gaming. If you do want to do really high-end gaming, you probably do want to get a desktop machine. But if you actually want to do studying, you probably want one of these instead.
But I think all in all, a really good combination. Nice mobility, an entertainment system, lots of great internet connectivity and wireless capability, of course, these days. A communications device. All of those things. So really you're going to be looking at maybe one of 3 different styles of laptop given your budget. But there's typically the 17-inch, which is the widescreen format. Lots of people who want to kind of, don't move it a lot, but take it around, and you want a big screen for video watching. Might be the category you'd go there. 15-inch, the middle of the road, right? Again, the modest-sized computer. Lots of people choosing that option these days. And again, not a big screen, but certainly from a weight perspective, it's much lower. And if you're carrying it around in your book bag all day, and then of course we go down to the sub-notebook size. Well, actually, wouldn't call it sub-notebook anymore, but the mini versions of your laptops, and that's the 13-inch.
13-inch or so, yeah. And they're not that expensive either. If you remember back in the day when it used to be like $4,000 for a notebook of this kind of vintage. Right now, this is an Acer 5740, the Aspire 5740. It's about $599 at the start. It works up to almost $1,000 once you really top it up with large hard drives and a lot of RAM and all the extras. But you can get an entry-level notebook at reasonably affordable price, again, from about $500 or up.
Right. Processors in these guys these days, Core 2 Duo, Core 2 Quad, which is a little older, funnily enough. I always think of those as new. And then the i3, i7, and i5 processors.
This is actually the i3. This is the first i3 notebook I've had the chance to see so far. And, it performs reasonably well. Not as peppy as the highest-end i7s, obviously, but it is reasonably good.
Very good. Intel processors.
Intel processor, yes.
Very good. Okay, there you go. So, and I usually use this formula, which is go and look at the form factor you like, go and look at a couple different models, and then choose second best technology. Don't buy the most expensive because you're not going to get the benefits. You're going to pay for the new technologies, but second best or third best is always a good way to go to get a good combination of price versus a value.
Right. We've got the MacBook here as well. This is a general manager's MacBook, so you can actually see some of his work on here if you really want to. But this, Apple does make the notebooks as well. A little bit more expensive than the typical entry-level Windows-based notebooks because of the build and the quality of the multimedia components.
Yeah, this is in the $2,000 range at this point.
This one in particular is, you can get them closer to $1,000 if you go for the entry-level MacBook. If you go for the MacBook Pro, starting at the 13-inch one, we're starting to look around $1,200 and then up from there. And you can get them quite expensive, as you pointed out.
Right, good. Okay, good. So that's laptops. I guess the downside, is there any downsides to laptops? I don't think so, really.
Well, they're expensive compared to desktops, especially if you get one of these. If you do take them around with you, if you lug them around a lot, they're very heavy on your shoulder. And they are very breakable and stealable if you're taking them around with you. So, if you have all your life wrapped up in a notebook as opposed to the desktop, then you got to keep a close eye on it. Otherwise, everything you've done, all your term papers, whew, out the door.
Out the door, right? Your
Potentially.
entire life is on your laptop. Very good. Okay, good. Okay, now let's say that we're not interested in a desktop. Laptops may be a little too expensive. There's a category of technology that really has become hot in the last few years, and I think a lot of students will be looking at that. And that is,
This
you
is
see the big
the
reveal here?
netbook. Yes, you
Very
can take
good,
yours
big
away.
reveal.
So we've actually got a couple of them here. These are two versions of the Dell Mini, and this is from our friends at Dell, the Inspiron Mini 10 and the 1012. Again, starting around $299 for a netbook, so they're a little bit cheaper than an actual notebook, a little bit less powerful, of course, and a lot smaller than the typical notebook.
Let's define the netbook, too, because I think it's a category that maybe many people don't really understand. What's the difference between a netbook and a notebook?
Well, they've been given the term netbook because they're largely designed to be used with the net. So you use them for your email, you use them for surfing the web, a lot of stuff that doesn't require a lot of raw power like a notebook or a desktop would. A lot of it is done online. So we're an online generation now, and we might be sitting in our living rooms wanting to connect to the network, but not necessarily want to haul the larger notebook around, and definitely not the desktop.
Right. Also, too, these guys tend not to have optical discs, so you can't play CDs, DVDs, and that sort of thing.
Right.
They rely on storing to the internet, storing to a USB key, things like that. So they tend to also be spec'd down a whole lot. So they have the Intel Atom processor often, which is a very, very low-powered, low-heat, and low-cost processor. But also, when I say power from a electricity perspective, but also from a performance perspective. You cannot expect to cut video effectively or play high-end games on these guys.
No, especially when you've unplugged them. Now, the one effect that we've noticed with a lot of netbooks is when you've got them plugged in, they have really good performance, but as soon as you pull the plug, it just scales right back. And this is what the Atom is very good at, is giving you performance in the field without running down your battery, which doesn't mean that you've got performance at the same level you'd like, but it does keep your battery going.
Right, very good. And price points here, under $500 typically. You can, of course, the premium ones go above that. But really, if you're on a budget, if you want the functionality of a laptop, most of the functionality in terms of power, with the exception of gaming and video, a really good choice.
Yeah. Now there are, of course, some big downsides on them. Is the components are less expensive typically than on a notebook. The keyboards are a lot smaller typically, although it looks like these ones are about the same size as a notebook keyboard. But a lot of times when you get a netbook, for example, I had one of the earlier models of Acer Aspire ones, and the keyboards are down to, say, like 85% of the regular pitch of a keyboard, which makes it a little bit harder to type, especially if you have larger hands.
Yeah.
Also, I found that in general, the trackpads on these things, they just suck. They're terrible. Yeah. So you probably want to haul around a mouse with you when you go.
Okay, good. So there you go. The netbook category probably might be one of your choices if you're on a budget and you want all the functionality of a laptop.
Yes.
Almost.
So we've got one more opportunity.
Yeah,
People may be asking
this is a surprise. It didn't exist before this year.
Yeah.
And you may be go, oh, I didn't really think of that. So what is this, Sean?
This is our good friend, the iPad.
The iPad.
Oh, with a little bit of finger grunge on it, which is one of the downsides of this. So we've got the iPad here, which you can actually use for doing a lot of things that you would do when you're out in the field. You can take notes with it, you can write with it, you can check your email. So it does a lot of the same stuff as your netbook does, but it does it without an actual physical keyboard.
This is really a tablet computer.
It's a tablet computer, yeah. So we've got on here, we've got the Pages application. So this is my word processing application. I've actually been writing on this. So one of the series that I've worked on recently, it's just you tap on it and there we go. I've got an actual full-on document here that I've written on the notebook.
Now these
on the iPad, sorry.
So you don't actually type this on the on-screen keyboard, do you?
No, you could.
So
when you want to type on it, the on-screen keyboard can fly up here. But I've got that disabled right now because I've actually gotten a little device here to help me with this. So when I'm doing a lot of work, I actually have a Bluetooth keyboard which attaches to this. So you probably will want to do this if you want to use this as your main device in the dorm for doing all your work. You can type essays on this quite serviceably. And away you go. And you probably don't want to prop it up like this. You'll probably also want some sort of stand if you have it. So I've
got both the notebook and the stand. So the keyboard from Apple is about $69. The stand from Griffin is about $50.
Right.
So I mean, we're adding up on the price here.
And the iPad itself runs between $500 and $1,000 somewhere in there, depending on the size of the memory, whether you have cellular data or just Wi-Fi version on there.
Yeah, so it's a pricey option. It looks really good, so you look really cool wandering around the. But you'll also become a target for thieves potentially with showing this around. But who knows? Are you that cool? Do you need to be that cool?
The other thing you should mention too is, I mean, you can get away with not using this with a computer, but you really do need a computer to synchronize it with.
You do need the computer to set it up for the first time at the very least.
Right.
And to pull your documents off.
Right. I think you could probably get away with not having a computer, but again, the computer is used for backup. Is used to transfer large files, although you can do files over Wi-Fi, but it's much faster. And moving movies and that sort of thing is much more efficient across a wire versus the wireless connectivity. The other thing we should mention here too is if you are a gamer, there's some great games for the iPad. It's a good gaming device. It's a very good multimedia device, for playing movies and that sort of thing. So it's a great option for students.
It is, definitely.
So, yeah. Okay, good. All right, I think there's one other thing we should talk about, but let's take a break first because there's one thing people might have not considered as your school device for back-to-school computing. But let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about that after this. Now, there may be an option that you haven't considered, and yet it's fully viable. It might be the right choice for you around back-to-school computing.
Possibly.
And that is, Sean?
Well, you might think I have this here just for show.
Show
it's
off
my phone.
iPhone 4,
it's
cool.
An iPhone 4. iPhone 3GS would be an alternative here as well. But the new smartphones, even like a Palm Pre or something like that, theoretically. But one of the ones that is out there these days that actually has full smartphone capabilities. They have word processors in these things. They have Bluetooth, so you can attach your Bluetooth keyboard to this and actually start typing. You actually have a full computer here, basically, in the palm of your hand.
The smartphone is, it's a computer.
Yeah,
it's a handheld computer. Yeah. And
this looks a bit comical, though.
I think people back in the day, the Palm OS, the Palm devices had a little fold-out keyboard like that. So I think it's a viable option, especially if you already have one and you're on a really tight budget. I think you could probably get away with using your smartphone as your primary school device.
Potentially could. So I've actually attached the keyboard to this already, and a nice thing about the iPhone 4 is it has a flat bottom now, so it'll actually stand up.
There, yeah.
So I've actually typed on it, and it actually is full speed. You can actually, again, type a full document on this thing if you really want to.
So you can put Pages on there, which is the Apple's word processor, and a spreadsheet.
You can certainly type into Notepad at full speed. I haven't tried putting Pages on here yet, but I'm sure that it will be coming if it's not there yet.
Yeah, I got it. And of course, it's a great multimedia device. It's your iPod. So it's in your pocket anyway. Perhaps there's a generation of kids out there who's looking, taking their iPhone to school this year.
There you go. People are wondering why you're pulling your keyboard out and just typing into nothing.
There's a kind of a weird, kind of cool factor going on. Anyway, it's just an option. We just thought we'd mention that. So good. Okay, and so let's take a break, and because we've got a very cool app review thing we wanted you to see that Sean did recently. It's a new series called 60-Second App. And you did a game called Angry
Birds.
Angry Birds, right. So not only is the iPad and the iPhone a great back-to-school device potentially, but it's also a good gaming platform. So let's take a look at that review, and when we come back, it's picture time.
Welcome to On Deck. I'm Matt Harris.
Hi, I'm Jay Goldman.
Welcome to the A-List. Hi, welcome to Miss Download.
The concept is simple. A bunch of green pigs have stolen eggs from a group of birds and then protected themselves under fortresses made of glass, wood, and concrete in varying configurations. You play as the birds, loading yourself into a slingshot and launching yourself at the fortresses in an effort to collapse them and the pigs. Different colored birds have different powers, including splitting into 3, dropping grenades, ramming power, and acting like a timed bomb.
60-Second App, the series is available at butterscotch.com. We have zillions of reviews, 1 minute each, reviewing all kinds of crazy apps, not only for the iPhone and the iPad, but also Android as well, and potentially BlackBerry in the future. So check that out at butterscotch.com.
Speaking of apps, were we watching that? I double-checked. So far, Pages not on the iPhone 4 yet.
Right.
But keep your eye
I
open.
bet you if you typed in word processor, there'd be some other options.
There's got to be
coming up,
something
though.
else there. So yeah.
There's lots of apps. There's 210,000 iPhone apps available. You should check that out at mobile.butterscotch.com. There's a little plug. We have all of them listed there, so type that in. Okay, picture time.
Picture time. We have one picture for you today, sir.
Yes, one.
So this is our friend Justin, who is in Bathurst, Australia, but who's originally from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Ah, cool.
And he moved down there, and he loves the food demos.
Loves food demos. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
so stay tuned there, Justin, because we got one coming up in the near
pretty
future.
soon. Yeah. Okay, good.
Ish.
Nice.
So there you go. Thank you for sending that in.
Well, if you'd like to send your picture to us here at the Labrats, you can email us at
Go back to school with nothing but an iPhone and a Bluetooth keyboard at labrats.tv.
a lot to spell in that email address, so more simply you could try.
Feedback at labrats.tv. But where's the fun in that?
Exactly.
Really?
That's right. All right. Well, it's a fantastic episode. Thank you for getting all this hardware in for us. It's been really good. If you want to find out more about this show, you can check out our show notes at butterscotch.com. Just click on shows and Labrats, and all the episodes are there with all the show notes. And don't forget to hop on over to howdoyou.com to win up to $10,000 and one of 10 iPads. Hey, you could win an iPad and take it to school this year. How cool is that?
Win this one right here.
All right. Thank you so much for being out there. It'd be foolish for us to be here teaching you about back-to-school computing if you weren't out there thinking about going to school. My name's Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers.
We'll see you next time.
Are you ready? Try this at home.
It's a big one, really, when it comes down to it. Nana, why's your computer so big? I don't know,
Because
my
it's
duck.
filled with excellence.
Because it keeps all my tea recipes, really.